The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Fantasy NBA Today live. We are here. We are live. It's Friday. We're on YouTube. I hope more of you that listen to the recorded version are finding us as we actually do this thing. To those of you that are watching live, again, apologies for running a couple minutes late. Entirely on me. But we're rolling now. I got a list of hot topics. I got a chat room full of questions I've cut and pasted into a Word document so that YouTube can't delete them on me again. It's 4 pages long, which means we're going to be here for a little bit. So buckle up. I'm Dan Besbris. Aaron Brewski, El Arquitecto, the founder of hoop-ball.com, as always, is our guest here on Fridays. Aaron, good day to you.
Good day to you too, sir. Tip of the cap.
A tip of the cap.
I've used that twice now. It's my go-to.
Yeah, it's a good go-to. It's friendly. It's formal in kind of a I haven't seen you in a while kind of way.
You know, who was it online that does this? Yahoo Sports writer now at the Ringer is oh crap. He says Doff's cap. I always think that's great. Doff.
Yes, got to doff a little bit. You got to turn the clock back. Get some of that old Englishy in there.
The old-timey stuff. It's fun.
Call somebody a cur and see how they react to that. That's some old-timey insult.
Is that going to get us in trouble?
I don't think so. I heard it originally on a SNL Celebrity Jeopardy. Remember the Daryl Hammond years? He was Sean Connery, and he called Trebek a lousy cur. That was my middle and high school years.
There's a couple jokes we can't go to from that skit, but that's a skit right there.
Those are great. Those are great.
Those are all-timers.
I got a list. It's not obscenely long. I really tried to pare this thing down to the 8 most interesting topics of the week. That should give us more time to get into the questions from the chat room. But before we do that, I want to give everybody a quick little catch-up here on what's been going on at hoop-ball.com. You can follow the two of us on Twitter. You can see our handles if you're watching live. There's mine I'm pointing to with my finger. And if I could figure out how to reach into Aaron's video feed, Aaron, well, point down to right above the Hoop Ball logo on your shirt, on your camera. A little bit to your right, I think.
I'm pointing at my boobies.
There you go. That's also Aaron's Twitter handle. It's at Aaron Brewski. I'm at Dan Bespers. You can follow at Hoop Ball Fantasy or at Hoop Ball Tweets to keep up on everything.
How come you can't even comment on this wonderful shirt I'm wearing?
We're matching. It's really sad.
Matching?
It's so sad. You can't see me.
I totally called you. And I just was hoping you would have listened to your messages. I said, wear the same shirt today.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. I hadn't looked at it yet. So because of the way that the encoder works when we do these shows, Brew can't see me. I can only see him when I'm looking at the actual encoder screen on my computer, which is not that frequent. Once we're going, I'm usually looking at stat windows. So, yeah, we... that is the stupidest thing.
I totally called you, Dan. Did you not check your messages?
I thought we were going to wear the purple shirt together today. I didn't get the memo. So yeah, we're repping it, man. We got hoop balls all over this screen right now. Logos are everywhere. Anywho,
I just want people to see how cool this shirt is. And our winner from our first. By the way, thank you everybody.
Yeah, that was going to be my first topic.
Oh well, let me. I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, do it. Perfect segue.
So thank you to everybody. So this partnership with DraftKings, they've been really great to us. And so we've done this in the past, but this year was the first time we put our full weight behind it. And it's our Beat the Expert competition. We have a wonderful expert, Mike Apotria, who's really just kicking ass all over the website. Mm-hmm. And so we have, we started this contest where we get to get all the hoop ballers together in a guaranteed prize pool. So the winners or the top 10 winners are getting $15. It's no big deal because the entry fee is just $3. We want to keep it low and keep it fun. But we had 37 entrants, which was extremely good news. The people at DraftKings, they loved it. There was, this allows us to do this more often. And DFS is a really big thing for us. We want to grow into that segment and starting this competition and having people participate the way that they did was just really good news for the website. So we're going to be able to keep doing it on a weekly basis. But the sweetener was this shirt. And I tell you, you say, it's just a shirt, right? anybody that's gotten one of these shirts, they always comment. It's unsolicited. They'll be talking to me about whatever, and they'll just kind of interrupt. They go, "Hey, by the way, that hoopball shirt is amazing." And until I wore the shirt for the first time, I was like, "Oh my god, it is really amazing." So it's Adrian Benjamins has good contacts within the t-shirt industry, which is actually a thing.
Yeah,
and,
man.
So, I mean, when he's like, yeah, we can get shirts together. This wasn't like the run of the mill. I know that, for a joke and a gift, I got you the Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr 2020 shirt for the holidays.
Yeah,
and
thank you for that, by the way.
That shirt, it's cool, and everybody stops me, if I wear it, they say, hey, cool shirt. But it's not, the material is not quite as good. This material, it's just stretchy and cushy and
it really
nice.
Is. It's a very nice shirt. Do we know who won?
So yeah, I was going to say, have we found out who won?
His handle was King Mook on DraftKings. That's all I know, because the second place guy sent a screenshot that was like second place, and I was like, oh man, congrats on the win, but you missed the t-shirt by whatever it was. I don't know who that is actually, but like, again, as Bruce said, thank you to everybody that signed up for the thing. Aaron, did you say this is something we're doing weekly on Thursdays, right?
Yeah. This was a little bit of a trial balloon, so we didn't know if we were going to get like 5 people, because we don't really do a lot of DFS around the site. I mean, Mike Apotria is sort of heading it up, and we've been really kind of patient and just wanting to make sure that when we have people that work with us, that they're the type of people that are long-term in the industry, and that we could throw our weight behind and feel good about it. So, again, trial balloon, and voila, people showed up, and I have a feeling it's going to keep growing. And that's just really good news for us as a website, because this is a big deal for us going forward. It's a big part of the future game plan for Hoopball. So if you enjoy what we're doing and you got $3, and there's actually ways that you can get involved basically for free, if you and also get our premium membership for free at the same time. So if you play this the right way, with a $10 deposit as a new user with DraftKings, you can get our premium membership, which gets you access to a boatload of different stuff. And then with that, you can actually enter that contest for free. And so you're kind of getting all this free stuff. Yeah, you got to give $10 to DraftKings, but you know what? Hey, you're getting a $30 Hoopball membership. You're getting a shot at this T-shirt. You're getting the opportunity to win more money, so you could actually go read John Schifferly's DFS Plays of the Day, which I forgot to do, and that's why I finished 31st.
You suck at this, Brewski.
I was terrible. I thought I had such a great lineup. I had Gerald Green, Gary Clark, and then I threw in all the studs, and then the Warriors got smoked, and there it went.
Yeah.
But no, it's been great, and it's been fun, and so you can sign up for the premium membership, or you can make your deposit with DraftKings directly as a first-time user and also get that free entry into that competition. So we're going to have it weekly. We want the numbers to grow. If you guys can, if you play DFS, I know when I play 10 contests, and, maybe you don't want to take my advice on how to enter contests. I generally just throw my money down the chute, but that's because, I'm bored. So You
seem like you need
in a row, and I'm like, I can definitely win a 6th. And
I was going to say, you seem bored. You seem like you need things to do. That's the first thing I think of when I think of
Brew.
Yeah, like he's just sitting around on his hands looking for things to do. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Once a year, I start playing DFS, and I'm just saying later to Christian Villery, who's now leaving the studio.
Yeah, King's Cast, baby. Check that bad boy out.
Yeah, those guys are doing real good too. The long and the short of it is I'll play DFS, and I'm generally pretty good, but I'm way too risky with my bets. I just try to win it all. And
I had Mike on one of these podcasts, and that sounds to me like something you should be doing in a tournament instead of a traditional 50-50. See, I'm learning little bits and pieces because you want to take risks so you can maybe be in the top 10% or whatever.
37 entrants, and I figured in order to beat 37, because I really wanted to win first, even though the top 10 positions pay out. I wanted to win first just to show y'all who was boss.
I think it was nicer that people got to take your money. I feel better about that side. I feel like you should feel good about that.
You know what? I didn't really try, guys.
Yeah, there you go. That's the classic line. All right, let's talk some fantasy sports. Again, As Brew mentioned, you can go to hoop-ball.com, click on the premium tab, choose that free membership button, and that'll guide you through setting up the DraftKings account with that initial deposit. Get the free premium membership. Also get yourself into these Thursday competitions. Brew, I have 8 things on my fantasy to-do list with you, and I want to break in with the most recent and buzziest one of them, and that's Steph Curry's adductor injury, which we know those are not simple. That's the problem with something like this. Sometimes you can jam a knuckle or turn an ankle or whatever it is, and it's all right, they miss a few games, there's some swelling. When the swelling goes down, they can basically just go back to how they were. Core muscle stuff is weird and tends to linger. Listen, everybody knows I was insane pro Curry this year, and I've been pissed since day one that I didn't have a high enough draft pick in any of my important leagues to get him. If I did, I'd be a little bit nervous right now.
Well, unlike you, Dan, I have him everywhere. So I'm nervous, but you know what? Couple good news things. They did say that it's more of a day-to-day thing today. The MRI is smart because you're the Warriors and you don't care about wins right now. You just want to make sure that the medical intel is good so you can make good decisions based on that. I think sometimes guys wouldn't even go for the MRI in this kind of a case. So really precautionary there. And yeah, Steph even alluded to this after the game. He said, this is the first time I've ever dealt with something like this. So that tells me he's never had a groin injury, which is pretty phenomenal because, playing sports in just high school, I used to pull my groin all the time.
Brew, I pull my groin just driving.
I honestly, I think I've pulled my groin just sitting. And
I think Bogdan Bogdanovic pulled his groin too, if I can read into his absence from Friday's schedule. It sounds like Bogdan, because I was under the impression he's... I can't do it. I can't do it.
Finish your joke, Dan.
Bogdan is resting on Friday because of what they're terming...
Because of what, Dan?
Load management, which I think that means a pulled groin. Sorry, guys. Had to do it. He's fine. He's fine, guys. Don't worry. I'm making a joke. Bogdan's just sitting out one game.
We are still 12 years old here.
I never passed 12. I know that they say that when the facial hair comes out and you lose it up here that you're supposed to grow up, but to hell with that. So what's your take on Quinn Cook?
I don't think you can get aggressive in a season-long league. You could stream him. You can add him for, with an expectation of 2 to 3 games. 3 games is probably the over-under as far as he goes.
All right. That one probably the least fantasy implication, but more reality stuff. Now we can kind of segue into more of the fantasy stuff. And I know there's a name that's popped up that we got to hint at a little bit last week when the initial buyout was taking place, but now we've seen a little bit of the fallout, which is the Tyson Chandler moving to the Lakers, which means backup center minutes now belong to Richaun Holmes, who, Aaron... big-time Richaun Holmes fans over there in the Brewski household, and big-time Brewski fans in the Holmes household from what we've heard over the years. So what's the take on him? What do we got to get to for him to be fantasy relevant? Because we got it for one game, and then we got a real clunker in the next one. That feels like the kind of thing that you might be staring at for a guy that's going to sit on 14 to 18 minutes.
Yeah, well, so...
Oh, by the way, I'm referencing the fact that Aaron's gotten into really kind Twitter interactions with the Holmes family. This has actually happened.
And it's funny how this NBA world works. I have retweets, favorites, and commentary from the most random NBA players and their families. And that's because we give fair and balanced coverage of Richaun Holmes.
Don't describe our show as fair and balanced.
Some other term.
Yeah.
We do that.
We are pragmatic and we are level. There's your 2 thesauri words for the previous one. But you had a really good interaction with the Holmes family, his parents, right?
Well, she's actually his mom. Well, first of all, the parents are both doctors, real good family. And they actually, the mom did a podcast hit with, I'm going to forget the Philly website. And it was really enlightening. And, it gave you faith that he was going to be, wherever he would be, he'd be a hard worker. And that's, you don't want to hear the opposite of that. I think most NBA players are hard workers in general. But, so the first few times I saw Richaun Holmes play this year, I was a little worried for him because Phoenix is not a good franchise. They don't develop players very well. They do have a great training staff, which is the weirdest thing, and I don't know how that all, comes to be. But, he looked a little lethargic. He looked a little out of shape. He looked a little shell-shocked. I think, when you're traded and your last stop was, at a Colangelo place, you're probably a little disenchanted with the NBA. You sat there and watched as players that weren't as good as you got minutes, and you were really not a part of their plans because of something that was way over your head, way over your pay grade, and you just sort of got dragged along for the ride. And now you're in Phoenix with no chance to play if Tyson Chandler's there, because it's Tyson Chandler and it's Phoenix, and this is what they do in Phoenix. I think he got a little down on himself, and I was not, I had him somewhat high in the B150 in the beginning of the preseason, and seeing him in the preseason, I thought to myself, I don't think this is going to fly. And so I dropped him. I think he was still in there at 180, something like that, based on the idea that, if he can ever get loose, if he could ever have, any sort of runway, he has the talent to be able to climb the rankings really fast. So once the Tyson Chandler trade hit, I was all about it. And still nobody in fantasy was even talking about this guy. The bottom line here is, in my types of leagues that have about 190 players rostered, that plays. And what I mean by that, he's going to probably get 15 minutes a night no matter what. I don't see the Suns blasting Ayton out there for, more than 33 minutes per game. Now, they were winning in this last game and then had to go to overtime after they gave the game away, and they were not going to pull Ayton out of the game. So Rashawn Holmes didn't really get in on the action, but if I recall correctly, he finished with a steal and a block. There was some confusion because DraftKings had him for a steal and a block. ESPN had him for just a steal. Anyway, pretty sure he finished with a steal and block and something like 3 points, 4 boards in 14, 15 minutes?
Yep.
That's obviously not what you're looking for, but we just know historically from what we've seen out of him, he is in, say, 17 minutes per game. He's going to be in that top 200 range no matter what. So
what's it going to take to get him to top 115? Because I think that's what most 12-teamers in non-insano competitive leagues are hunting for.
Right. I think 23 minutes per game. And then the other key thing is he is actually knocked off the rust, and he's starting to get, I don't want to say aggressive because he's not even there yet, but the comfort level in his game, you could see it compared to preseason and even the first few games of the regular season, because he's getting the minutes, because he's learning how to play with these guys. Keep in mind, he hasn't really played with these guys that much. You can see, I was actually really encouraged by the first 2 games, seeing where he was on the court, where he was standing on defense, how he was reacting. It's sort of the athleticism component. I think he's probably about 3 or 4 games away from really getting into game shape. So he can improve. And I also think if your baseline is 15 minutes here, there's a couple other things that can happen. You can see DeAndre Ayton play less minutes in games for things like foul trouble. You could see them drop his minutes if he's not playing well in a particular game, which rookies do struggle. You could see them dropping his minutes if he starts to deal with in-season injuries. And that's really before you get to the point of, can they play together? And then also, what if something does happen to DeAndre Ayton? So if you can get that late round value, in a top 200, top 150 posture, depending on your format, that gives you what we always are looking for. We want a late round floor with lots of upside beyond that. So I went and I added him in my 14-team 190 player leagues, trying to get ahead of the curve. And, if this last game, if he had another double-double with a bunch of defensive stats, I can guarantee you everybody in my leagues would be all over that. It's a little soft right now after this last game. So there's still opportunity to get out there and get the asset, but it does matter what league you're in. If you're in a 12-teamer that's intermediate, you probably got quite a bit of time.
The next thing on the docket is Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out in Clippertown. Getting a ton of questions about him, and I guess I just need you to tell me if I'm misreading this situation. Now, the good news, obviously, is that it sounds like he's going to be the starter. He's been, by all accounts, better than Avery Bradley, and he has the length to play some shooting guard. The thing that troubles me about Gilgeous-Alexander is that yesterday's game was the first time all year he's attempted more than 9 shots in a single basketball game. And yes, there are guys out there that can sort of do it with that hyper-efficient type line, but he hasn't been that guy yet. Brew, could he become that guy? I haven't seen enough steals. I haven't seen enough threes. I haven't seen enough assists where I'm like, hey, 32 minutes, this guy could really blast into something. It seems like he almost needs to be more of a volume guy. But am I misreading this?
I don't think so. I think you might have even tweeted something to the effect of there's a lot of guys that are going to get their shots ahead of him. I think you're looking at like, can Danilo Gallinari get injured? Can Patrick Beverley get injured? You know, these types of things would open the door for him to get the volume that he needs. And you're right about that. And there also needs to be, I think, a little bit of a dip in the Clippers season so they can decide, yeah, we're going to let this kid play a little bit. I think as long as they're in the playoff hunt, and I expect them to go all the way down to the bubble, you know, all the way down to the end of the playoff chase. It's hard for them to really say, hey, we're going to let this kid, you know, be the center piece of our offense, even if he's playing well. So there's a lot of reasons to fade the upside piece. He is getting close, though, to that same concept with Richaun Holmes, as if he can provide you late round value, and then you can sit on the asset, use him during 4-game weeks, use him when it makes sense in your head-to-head leagues, and then you still have your marker down on the position in the case that, like I said, those things do happen. It's not ridiculous to own him, but you do have to, if you're in an intermediate or a beginner league, I think you do have to take a step back and say, what is the realistic upside picture here? I think I would rather own Richaun Holmes unless that sort of current day-to-day production is valuable for you right now. I mean, he might have that production for the next 4 weeks, whereas it might take somebody like Richaun Holmes about 3 or 4 weeks to really crank up. So
I think I'm getting way ahead of myself with this question, but is there keeper appeal for Gilgeous-Alexander?
Absolutely. Yeah, because he can play, and that's certain things can be learned. You know, he can learn how to shoot a 3-point shot. He can get bigger, stronger, improve his field goal percentage, improve some of those defensive numbers, especially if he gets into the right system and, systems change and players change. So all that stuff. Yeah, I think I'm real impressed with him, his moxie on the floor. So yeah, absolutely in a dynasty league.
And I think Pat Beverley's contract is over at the end of this year. I'm not 100% certain on that. Maybe someone in the chat room can.
That's absolutely right.
That is right. Okay, so there's maybe one other reason to stick with him a little bit longer. Next thing on the docket, slow-mo. Every week we're going to do a little slow-mo watch. He feels like he's getting incrementally, very small, baby steps. It's what about Bob style? Baby steps closer to being fantasy relevant. Are we at the point now where he can be inserted into lineups?
Sure. I mean, look at your lineup though. I mean, if you have Chris Dunn, Bobby Portis, a lot of hoop ball teams have those two players. You're looking for players that are healthy, and so yeah, absolutely, he can be in lineups. But yeah, he's woken up, and there was couple shots that he took in this last game that were even a little over aggressive, and that's good to see. For a guy that could go shotless in a game, it's just classic slow-mo. And obviously his position is strengthened since we last spoke, so there's a lot of panic should people be dropping him. I mean, if you owned him and you saw this week, this can't be the week that you give up on him. So yeah, no, I'm actually not even that worried about his. We were along the lines of several other competitive fantasy websites ranking him in the 80 range. And I have really, I don't feel great about it, but I'm not that worried either that he can't hit that mark.
Now we're going to get into basically just rotations. I have 4 teams rotations that I wanted to talk about, and some of them weirder than others. One of them in particular has to do with a player returning. One of them has to do with a whole team that's been kind of flipped on its head. Third one, just a really bad team. And the fourth one, actually a good team that got deeper, apparently. And they're in no particular order, but we're going to start with the one getting a player back, and that's the Sacramento Kings. We saw Bogdan play his first game earlier this week. I know I made a joke earlier in this podcast about his rest day coming up, but, in that first game, I was pleasantly surprised at how okay he looked in 17 minutes after not playing for 2 months. I felt like that was a pretty good sign.
Hey, man, it's funny. I tweeted something, and I was kind of like, I don't want to say a cathartic moment. I'm not a Kings fan, but covering the Kings has given us PTSD. It's been nuts.
Yeah, well, you don't get the nickname Kangs for nothing.
It's been quite a 6-year run for me covering that team. And so during those 6 years, the team narratives, which all teams do, they're not central to the Kings. Every team tries to put the best foot forward with everything that they're doing. But in the process, unfortunately, there's a lot in the Kings media that just sort of parrot this stuff. So you deal with this. I report about the team and they're talking about this one thing. And you're like, are we all going crazy? Did we all eat crazy pills? Like, why are we talking about this? And it's been that way for 6 years. Now they're doing smart things. The Bagley pick looks like it's working out. That whole Bagley Doncic thing, that'll probably, be a battle that rages for a couple of years. But they're doing everything right. And so they bring back Bogdanovich, and he looked great. They played very well against the Raptors. Their pace game is really hard to defend. I mean, I watched the Raptors almost just sort of shrug their shoulders like, oh, we got to run back again. I don't want to run back again. Oh, they're doing it again. And just like, oh, this is the Kings. We're supposed to not have to run in this place. This should be a 30-point win. And the Kings just kept coming at the Raptors, who have looked as good as anybody this year. Bogey came in, looked sharp, and, he's going to have injury risk and question marks about this knee. I think that the procedure probably is a good idea. Hopefully he doesn't continue to have issues. It looked at a lot, not even with the Kings, but prior to coming with the Kings, that he lacked a little bit of explosion because of the knee. So they might be, limited with him. They might do that for probably 2 to 3 weeks. And then they have a nice and tight rotation after that, assuming they get rid of Justin Jackson, not like waive him, but pull him out of the rotation. And you saw Troy Williams play really well in that game against Toronto. And there was a comment by Dave Yeager to the extent of, we got to look at this. If they remove Justin Jackson, you get a really dynamic lineup where you have De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Bogdan Bogdanovich. You may or may not play Frank Mason in that configuration. And then you get Iman Shumpert, who needs games off from time to time because of his injury history. But it creates a nice 30-minute per game wedge for Bogdanovich. And these guys are going to be explosive. I mean, Manja Bjelica was exposed. We've been talking about that for a while. If teams get smart about how to expose him, he's probably the last remaining bad narrative in Sacramento, where everybody's, all over how great he's been this season. Teams really haven't known how to play him off the floor, which you do if you can get an above average defender or, somebody that he has to defend that is just slightly quick. You do one of those two things and you can play him off the floor, but with him on the floor, which he will be for 20 minutes per game, and Willie Cauley-Stein at center, man, they're good. Like offensively, like top 10 good, maybe even top 5. It's probably overstating it to say that, but what does it mean for fantasy owners? These guys are going to put up numbers. Buddy Hield's going to keep crushing. Fox is going to do well. Bogdanovich is going to be a top 100 guy. Bjelica is already a top 30 guy, I think, after his dud, the other night. I expect that to fade. Willie Cauley-Stein will keep doing well. The Kings are going to be a good fantasy team. And we all started the season, minus like Buddy Hield and Fox, as sort of no Kings allowed. So it's been a phenomenal turnaround, and it's actually a pleasure to watch them, which is nice as somebody that covers the Kings.
It took me a while to take that sign down, but the sign is down. Next team on the rotations list, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Got a chance to talk to Eustachio Raleigh on this pod earlier this week, and he was like, look, it's probably going to be a slow and steady move towards younger players, but some of the guys on that team, Brew, just aren't that young. There's like there's the super old, there's the not quite young, and then there's the super young, but that's really just like one guy. So I might be replacing my King sign on my treehouse with a Cavs sign, barring, of course, Kevin Love coming back healthy. Is there anyone you actually trust on that team right now?
Dan Gilbert. Let me tell you, that guy is so trustworthy. I want to get a mortgage from him.
Can it be predatory, Brew?
The more predatory, the better. Just
Fantastic.
Take my money, Dan Gilbert.
It's rough out there, man.
And do it quickly with the Rocket Mortgage app.
Please don't use anything but that, people. I would do an anti-advertisement if I could.
Yeah. How the hell do you do a mortgage on an app? That's so dumb.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Anyway,
it's a good way to do something that ends up being a problem to me. Something that complicated happening that fast feels like a bad decision. Complicated things should take time.
That is probably part of the business plan, Dan.
Yeah, I know. It's part of the bubble burst.
They're just running out of players in Cleveland. And so I'm really interested to see what they become. Do they become like it was funny, Andrew Harrison got signed there and he's going to play. And that's the only reason I think he took the contract there. A 2-way deal, so he's got 45 days, and he's not going to play at all in the G League. So that was an agent negotiated thing there. George Hill is out for a couple weeks. So now you got rookie Colin Sexton, who is not really doing anything well, and sort of a hodgepodge of fantasy misfits. Rodney Hood, who needs 33 minutes and, kind of optimal circumstances to get top 100 value. Jordan Clarkson, I think, will be a top 100 guy. Chetty Osman just left the game with a back injury the other day. He's been ruled out for Saturday's game. Didn't know what you were going to get there. They're not playing David Nwaba, who has some stat set deficiencies, but he's a really good player. But he must not be, Dan Gilbert must not be a fan because, he's not a part of the youth movement, which he's a little bit older, but come on, it's David Nwaba. He's good. Nance is obviously a guy I think you want. Tristan Thompson. But it's like Harrison will come and he'll get minutes, but he's had stat set issues too. We've seen him in Memphis get plenty of ramp. I'll say this about Harrison that interests me is he's got the physicality to do something. He's shown those, glimpses, but he's also got terrible percentages. So there you go.
Team number 3 in rotation discussion hour here on Fantasy NBA Today Live is the Indiana Pacers. We're seeing a ton of minutes going to guys like Domantas Sabonis, who's put up pretty nice numbers. Corey Joseph is playing large minutes for that team. Tyreek Evans is not playing large minutes for that team. This is a weird spot, and it's a team of kind of old guys that I've many times shown trust in, like a Darren Collison, like a Thad Young. Miles Turner, who's a younger guy that I think people were hoping for a little bit of a bounce-back season. How is this going to shake itself out? It's been pretty frustrating for basically any Pacers owner except Sabonis so far.
Yeah, so, start that over. You got Victor Oladipo is doing all right. He's not at ADP. He's definitely not out of it. What I was saying was that, it's really early in the season, and, this time last year, Karl Anthony Towns was really struggling, and he went on a run, and, so you just can't, look at his top 20 value right now and really worry about it too much. He's at 1.6 steals and 0.6 blocks. So the regression, that a lot of people were worried about is definitely in effect right now. Again, it's early though. Also just hitting 70% of his free throws at a big clip. So that should bounce back. And, the Domantas Sabonis thing is probably the next most, important thing going on there. He's killing it, and he just looks like a better player. Miles Turner owners, I tried to buy into a little bit of he's in better shape and here's a new contract, but he is definitely getting leapfrogged by Domantas Sabonis. And that's just really interesting because of the big contract that he signed, but just in general. And Sabonis is here to stay. If you drafted him in the late rounds, you got a great deal. I think he stays as a mid-round asset. Tyreek Evans is pissing off Nate McMillan, and that's the kind of thing that I don't see changing. Tyreek had a great year last year, but now, coming into this situation, he's missing practices and he's doing all these odd things that, he's done at prior stops, Sacramento. And so I don't know that dynamic is changing. And he's also put a dent in Darren Collison's value. And I do think it's okay to move on from Darren Collison. We've held on a little bit there, but you add too many players as the Pacers did, and you do get these types of situations. Collison just might not survive unless Tyreek does something to play his way completely out of Indiana, which is possible. Tyreek's not going to turn it around, though. And I've seen you talk about this on Twitter. I don't think he's a hold. I think he's a drop.
I moved on from him. I'm still hanging on to Collison in 9-cat roto formats because that's really where his value can be concentrated, and if something goes the right way, then that can be a pretty big turn. But like head-to-head, there just isn't much in the counting department right now. The thing that blows my mind, obviously Victor Oladipo is the best fantasy asset on that team. Domantas Sabonis currently is the number 2 fantasy asset on that team. I believe in 9-cat he's ranked in the 60s. I'll double-check on that. 56. He's even higher than that. Miles Turner is in the 90s. And then there's nobody else inside the top 135 on that team. I mean, it is a cavalcade of guys not doing anything. It's really upsetting. And like you said, there's just a lot of dudes. Thad Young is in the 150s, Collison in the 160s, Tyreek the 170s, Bojan Bogdanovic is in the 130s, Joseph in the 160s. That's terrible. There's like no fantasy value out there.
Coming from a team that last year was one of the most consistent fantasy teams.
Yeah.
Brutal. But again, this is about Tyreek Evans, and this.
It's brutal. It's brutal. Brew's internet freaking out from time to time there, but I think we've got him back, so we'll just jump on to the next one. The Knicks, that's the last one. This is our running Knicks watch as well, because they keep changing things, and guys come back, and guys go out, and so on and so forth. We've talked last week about Mitchell Robinson and how much you spent a lot of an auction budget on him, got him in one, didn't get him in another. He had that big game and then kind of got pushed a little bit by Enes Kanter in the next one. And even Noah Vonleh's been playing better. A lot of questions about whether or not to hang on. I've mostly been telling people yes, because that type of big man upside doesn't grow on trees. But perhaps coming from you, it would mean more, and perhaps you could explain better to the listeners than I can why a guy like Mitchell Robinson is so unique and so important in fantasy.
Well, there's a couple things here. So, Josh Millman of Hoopball has a great article about the increase in 3-point shots. Not that that's relevant. Why did I segue that way? The idea, though, that the stat set that Mitchell Robinson, that Rashawn Holmes, that other big men that we've seen, guys like Hassan Whiteside before he was Hassan Whiteside, these guys show up, and because they rebound, get high field goal percentage, and they block shots and maybe get you some steals as well, these are stats that are scarce, and so they shoot up the valuation rankings so quickly. Mitchell Robinson currently right now at a top 160 to 130 value in 8 and 9-cat leagues respectively. Don't ask why I read it that way. That's just the way that I write it. That means right now in 17 minutes per game, he's already worth owning. And that's probably he's going to get, I think, something in this ballpark. But you just had Lance Thomas go down. Kristaps Porzingis doesn't look particularly ready to go. I know that he's arguing with David Fizdale right now about whether or not he's running or not. But the Knicks don't have any reason to bring back Porzingis, and that's many months down the road that owners don't have to worry about. Robinson probably gets something similar to the 17 to 20 minutes per game he's getting right now. But they could easily say, hey, let's give the kid more. And when that happens, that's why he went for such a monstrous price. And I still don't know if I'm happy with getting him in one of 3 places. And in my most competitive league, one of my biggest competitors outbid me by $6 on a $525 bid out of 1,000 fab dollars. I still don't know if I'm happy or not that happens. So we'll see how that goes. But just too much upside. And he's just a must-hold player, and especially as things go down the stretch. And this Kanter and the Knicks are already sort of in this awkward place where, he's been the face of the franchise, but he's not appreciated. And they've pretty much said, hey, we know you need to earn your next contract, but here, sit on the bench, or come off the bench, and then feeding him some BS about, hey, win 6th man of the year for us, when that never really goes to a player on a losing team. I think that relationship could go south. I'm a little iffy even on my B150 projection for Enes Kanter, though things are probably going to work out for him. Mitchell Robinson, I think at the end of this year, he's going to be putting up big numbers.
Questions time. Everybody's favorite part of Live Friday. We head to the chat room, which is well populated today, Brew. I don't know if I mentioned that to you yet. I've been cutting and pasting these things into a Word document, and we're 4.5 pages deep. We're 4.5 pages deep. So I hate to do this to the listeners, but when everybody is asking this many questions, it means that everybody gets a little bit less time on their questions. And so, Brew, I think I have to put you into at least a warm seat, if not a full lightning style motion here. It's sad but true. So are you ready?
You can't hold me down, Dan.
It's true. I can't. I really can't. I mean, when it comes right down to it, you do run this operation, so I couldn't even if I wanted to. VP, I got the first question in on this one. That's our buddy. He's a very active Twitter user. You guys should all check out VP stuff. He is an opinionated young man. Quinn Cook, does he have to be owned for a 5-game week and the injury to Curry? Warriors have to sit him? Also, give me a reason to dump Cedi Osman. Well, we talked about Quinn Cook and the stream appeal. Would you dump Cedi Osman? I've been sort of arguing to hang on to him as maybe the one Cav allowed in my treehouse, simply because when he's healthy, they want him playing like 40 minutes a night, and that's a hard thing to come by. Where do you sit, I guess, on a yes or no there?
He's currently ranked outside of the top 250.
Yeah, the efficiency is rough.
In 30.6 minutes per game.
Which is crazy, right? To play that much. Well, the 37% shooting is really a drag.
It's bad, and I don't know that that's getting any better with how bad that team's going to be. So, I mean, he's got all the opportunity in the world. I mean, you could take a flyer, punt strategies do apply here. In a punt strategy, I think he's got a lot of value, actually. But, we can say that about all sorts of players if you just take their weakest categories and throw them out. Yeah,
good point. All right, that's fair. Question number 2. If I was going to sell De'Aaron Fox, and obviously this is an 8-cat versus 9-cat thing because there's a pretty big gap there, I want to dump his free throw percentage because it's been a little bit tough. Should I trade him for Buddy Hield?
Oh, yeah. If you can get Hield, his shooting stat set is so sweet. And, Hield's better than Fox.
I like it. Good afternoon, Jim Collins. No question there. Just saying hi. Show me the Maury. What's up, Brew and Dan? Please rank the following 5 players. A rank fest. We're getting into this thing nice and quick. The 5 players, Brew, are Rob Covington, Gary Harris, Otto Porter, Jamal Murray, and Zach LaVine. I don't know why I pronounced it like that. I just decided to have a little bit of fun. Rocco, Gary Harris, Otto Porter. These are all 5 guys that should be must start, right? Is this just for trade purposes? I don't know.
Apparently, these guys are all ranked right next to each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Except for maybe Otto Porter, right? He's a little bit lower.
Not really. When you consider his bounce back that's going to happen, I mean, they're all right next door to each other. I'll go. Let's do it this way. Let's go. Let's get crazy, and we'll put Jamal Murray on top. We'll put Gary Harris after him. Then we're going to put.
You're very kind, by the way.
Of the list.
You're Zach LaVine was in there and Otto Porter was in there, I think.
I think LaVine in an 8-cat league. I don't know what 8 or 9 this is, but and then you could stick Porter in there. And unfortunately, Covington, I think, is going to be at the bottom of the list. I just worry about his knee.
What is Jaren Jackson Jr.'s value to you rest of season? Where do you think he ends up?
I think he settles in that top 60 range.
Not bad.
I mean, he's already doing just fine, and he doesn't look great so far. He looks like a rookie. I mean, he looks good, don't get me wrong, but he's doing all sorts of rookie stuff out there. He's just going to improve as the year goes on. I mean, top 60 seems right on point.
TJ Warren is currently ranked number 80 in 9-cat format. Can he stay somewhere near there as the season progresses?
No. I think not only does he have risk of being traded he's got, some. I don't think he's going to shoot 90%, for the rest of the year from the free throw line. I just worry about him in general in Phoenix. They're just such a bad organization. They have so many wings. Now, it does help him a little bit that Josh Jackson looks like he's sort of playing his way out of that rookie-ish. He's not a rookie, but like that young player, that there's this 1 to 2 years each young player gets where they're going to get minutes no matter what because somebody bet on them. And I think he might be out of that. And he's sort of exposed himself as a guy that doesn't know how to play basketball. So that could help the TJ Warren.
Yes, it could. Ryan Anderson injury wouldn't hurt either. Michael Bridges, what? Is it McCall Bridges? Are we at Bridges pickup time yet? I know you talked about him last week or the week before.
Yeah, he hasn't been good with his opportunities yet. I think imagine being a rookie on a team and you're not really like a name brand rookie. You're going to defer to other guys, and especially with Devin doesn't pass the ball Booker, in the lineup. I think there's going to be a time when that switch flips. I was happy to see him get 26 minutes the other day. It was a good sign. I mean, you just want to watch minutes because for him, a la Chris Middleton, he has that sweet shooting stat set, but he's got that versatility, and it's almost as if when they decide he's the guy, when they decide they want to get that value out of him, he's going to be ready and he's going to deliver. So if the minutes are there, that's step one. Step two is then everybody's sort of deferring, and it's going to be. But the hard part with this entire team is you put Devin Booker sort of in charge of the franchise, and he's just not there with the leadership. He missed 5 guys the other day that were so wide open that your grandmother could have seen it and delivered a nice square bounce pass to him.
Yep.
And you watch the entire team as he then takes a difficult shot. The entire team sort of slumps their shoulders and they lose their oomph. And then he complains after the game that everybody's got, no heart. And it's just a bad scene. So that makes me a little iffy on all of these guys in general. I mean, I don't worry about Holmes because his stuff comes within the flow of the game. But somebody like Mikal Bridges is going to be, tougher. I'll probably drop him if I don't see a sign of life in my 190 player league, or player leagues this week.
You think Boogie can be a top 50 guy when he comes back?
If everybody's healthy.
Yeah, I'm a no on this one.
Yeah, I'm a no. It's if somebody wasn't healthy, I think they're going to just use and abuse him and, get everything they can get out of him. But if they're healthy, they're going to be more concerned about not letting him have an impact on this team, which is a funny thing to say.
So with apologies to the next question on the list, we're not going to do a 9-player rank fest live on this show, but what we will do is I'll read off the names and Brew will give me his favorite and his least favorite of the 9. We just can't do 9 live. It's too much. So we're going to do our best to give you the guys at the top and the bottom. Here are the 9 names, Brew. And I just want you to tell me who you like the most, maybe 1 or 2 that you like at the top and 1 or 2 that you'd put at the bottom. John Collins, Pascal Siakam, Paul Millsap, Gilgeous-Alexander, Kyle Anderson, Tyreek Evans, JJJ, Derek White, and Larry Nance. I'm going to guess, by the way, that you've got Collins, Siakam, Millsap, and JJJ in sort of your upper bucket. You've got Slow-Mo in the middle bucket, and then SGA, White, Reek, and maybe even Nance in kind of the lower bucket. What did I miss there?
Yeah, you answered my question for me. I mean,
Beautiful.
I think JJJ is probably the most intriguing because I don't think people realize his value yet. Collins, what a mess. Oh, what a mess for him. But once he gets back, he'll be just fine. The bottom of that group, I think Tyreek and Shai are probably the lowest on that. And then Siakam, I mean, come on, we've been talking about him forever.
It's true.
And it doesn't look like I mean, he's already, to me, I think he's better than Ibaka. I think the Raptors already know that. So I think he's probably maybe even the most underrated on this list.
And Serge has actually done a nice job of shooting closer to the bucket this year. Go figure. All this insanity. Get an easy shot. Everybody forgets the other half of the analytics thing. It's got to all be 3-pointers.
He's getting ripped apart in the pick and roll. It's the Kings did a number on him.
Yeah, he has lost a step. But damn, his offense is actually pretty good again. Kyle Anderson and TJ Warren are on the wire. Should I pick them up if my drops are Zach Collins, Derek White, Darren Collison, or Rodney Magruder? Would you drop any of those 4 guys for the other 2 I mentioned on the wire?
Yeah, Magruder is a tough one. I mean, he's definitely, they love him in Miami. You've got players that might not come back. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Dion Waiters or James Johnson for a long time. It just seems like that. It's just the way that franchise operates. James Johnson, I think, is closer than Dion Waiters. Magruder to me has, even though he's been great this year, I think he's got the least steady footing of that group. And then your other one was another shaky. Who's the other shaky one?
You said Magruder, Derek White, Zach Collins, and Darren Collison are the other 3 potential drops.
I think you can drop Collison in the group, and then the 2 ads were who again?
Kyle Anderson and TJ Warren.
Yeah, both of those I think are solid ads, and I would drop either of those guys. And then Derek White, I mean, he's got something to prove. Let's put it that way. And I think the other 2 players would be better than Derek White as well.
All right, we got a series of questions from our buddy Bones McGones, so we'll go lightning round on these guys. He's one of our old favorites here at the Hoob. He also added at the end.
Are we in the lightning round?
We're entering the lightning round. It's there. We're at the 8-minute mark here to the 1 hour, and I like to try to keep it in that 60-minute buffer region there. Bones also wanted to mention stick to sporks, not sports. Stick to sporks. It's one of our favorites here. Thanks, Bones. Love it. Nikoli, no shots Jokic. Is this just a weird few games and he gets back to being the lead guy, or is there something more going on?
Yeah. I mean, he does this, twice a year? That's just what he does. I wouldn't worry about it.
It's pulling a Kobe.
That's good.
Right? He did it every once in a while just to make a point. Is it a buy low?
Oh yeah. Anytime you could buy low in these circumstances, get in there and do it.
Jeremy Lamb versus Malik Monk timeshare. Will he ever get up to 30 minutes?
Yeah, he will. Whether it's through attrition, I mean, keep in mind Tony Parker's ancient, and if anything happens to him, Malik Monk slides over, plays backup 1. Nicholas Batum also an injury risk. Yeah, kind of all it up and down the lineup. And I also think they wanted to give Malik Monk a legitimate chance early on to show what he can do. But Jeremy Lamb, he's just better, and so that's I think that 30. Yeah, I'm good with 30.
Can you believe we've actually only gotten through one of the 4.5 pages of questions right now?
I can.
Oof, thank you, guys. We actually appreciate it, but I feel a bit overwhelmed at the moment. Danny Green, he looks better in the Raptors. He's playing more minutes. His spacing has seemed to be helpful. Can he be closer to top 70 instead of top 120? I actually am going to say yes on this one, but I think we might disagree.
Yeah, I mean, in a 9-cat league, I think it's on the table.
All right, okay.
He looked a little slow against the Kings. I'm a little worried about that. That team's not at full strength yet.
He looked a little worn out. I would chalking that up to last game of a long road trip for Toronto out west.
Delvin Wright isn't up to speed either, so I probably faded a little bit. I'll go with my top 90. Dan, you could have top 70.
Okay, either way, it's a guy you should be using. Siakam. Can he continue to thrive? You've already answered that question. The answer is yes. Hassan Whiteside. Any chance he stays healthy and has a post-hype top 50 season, or is it a sell high? This is actually a really good question because it could almost kind of be both.
We had this conversation on the Great In This League show, which you guys should all check out. Tell them that we said hi. We talked a ton of trash about you, Dan, on that show.
As you should.
But yeah, no, there can be buy low and sell high at the same time in these crazy circumstances. What do you have? I forget the end of the stat line. What was it,
27, 20, and 9, I think, was the final line.
And it got the 9 blocks or the 8 blocks in the first half. Insane. And he looked great in the preseason, and he took some time off with the knee, and expect that from time to time. But no, I think it's totally possible to get top 50. But these are sell high moments. So if you want to get off of an injury risk asset, by all means, get out there and sell high.
Well said. Brilliantly put, actually. Sell high moment in a buy low season. Well said.
Right.
Trey Young, can he get the turnovers under control and have a semi-respectable field goal percentage?
No, and I would bet the house on that.
Roberto. What's up, Roberto? I'm sitting on Zach Collins right now. Would you flip him out for TJ Warren?
No, because Zach Collins is still giving you top 100 value on the season despite the current disappearing act. It's a stat set thing, and it's only going to get better. So, yeah, I mean, I would keep Collins over Warren.
Interesting. Yeah, and he played a few more minutes in that last ball game as well. It's this sort of up and down of a guy that's only playing 20, 21 minutes a game. Tino says, 8-cat roto, 192 deep. Thoughts on Lonzo Ball?
Am I giving advice against one of my competitors now?
I don't know. Possibly.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, go on. No, it's all good.
Lonzo Ball or Derrick Rose moving forward?
Oh, Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's stat set is sweet, and Rondo is a candidate to get kicked off the team at any time because he's a terrible basketball player.
Yeah, but apparently his fight with Chris Paul, now Paul's dealing with an undisclosed elbow ailment. Just saying.
He did connect.
Don't throw a haymaker if you're going to hurt your own arm doing it, Chris Paul.
What was the other option in this?
Derrick Rose was the other option there.
Yeah, no, and Rose is having a great season, and it could completely continue, but he's also a very big injury risk, and he has no upside. So I want the upside.
Yeah, not a ton of upside. I mean, I will say, watching Rose, he did appear to have a little bit more explosion than the last 1 or 2 years. So kudos to him in what has been a very weird life of things. You had the allegations, you had the cheating stuff, you had the injury stuff, you had the I don't care about playing that much. What a career. Who will have a better value the rest of the year, Trevor Ariza or Malcolm Brogdon? 9-cat.
9-cat Trevor Ariza. I mean, he's played his way into shape, and he's gonna be productive. So that's an easy one. It'll be Trevor Ariza.
Yeah, king of the old man squad, Trevor Ariza. He's the crowning champion there. Would you cut Brook Lopez and use his spot to stream? I'm a no on that one. I like Brolo.
Yeah, no. Man, his rebounds are down. I mean, yeah, I get where the questioner is going with this, but yeah, no, especially in like a head-to-head format. Like you imagine being in a playoff week and getting like 6 blocks and 5 threes of that guy in a game. So that's I'm gonna hang on to Brolo.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. He's inside the top 75 in 9-cat in what has seemingly been a terrible start. But his job in Milwaukee is to box out. They don't need him to get the rebounds. They want their guys that can bring it up the court to get him. And they've been a far better rebounding team with him on the floor, as every team has been, despite the fact that he doesn't go to get them. It's the magic of actually sealing off an opposing big man that Laker fans didn't realize last year, and now that guy is gone, and now they can't keep people off the glass. It's a thing, guys. It's a thing. Who will have... Oh, no. No, this is a different question. Who will have better value now that we've gotten Ariza over Brogdon? Ariza versus Bogdan Bogdanovic. Is it still Trevor?
Yes. In a 9-cat, absolutely.
Dan, need help. My wife is out of town, and I have to feed my 4- and 7-year-old tonight. What is your go-to quick/healthy recommendation? My go-to is pasta with either a garlic oil sauce or a red meat and marinara combination. You can usually buy the red sauce at the market. You can make your own ground beef. Boom. That's how that's done.
Your kid eats better than I do.
I know, and yet my wife is on a WhatsApp chat with all the other moms from our mommy and me, and she constantly feels like we're feeding our kid like straight out of a dumpster compared to some of the stuff. But we also live in West LA. So
when I was your kid's age, I was eating Tangwiches.
I assume that's before you add the water.
Yeah, exactly. You just sprinkle a little Tang on some bread, done. Dinner.
That toughened us up, man. Toughened us up. Yeah, our kid eats fine, but some of these kids in West LA are eating like
a 4-star Yelp meal. What the hell?
Yeah, come on, they're freaking kids, man. Give him a chicken nugget. I gave Asher his first McDonald's this week, and he was stoked.
Oh, why you got to do that, Dan? You ruined him.
No, I know. He only had 2 nuggets and some fries. It was just a gateway McDonald's.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 nuggets leads to 3.
I know.
3 nuggets leads to 4.
I ate the other 8. It was cool. Jonathan Isaac is available on the wire. Should I drop Nemanja Bjelica for him?
Yeah, in your really shallow league, absolutely. That should definitely be done.
Yeah. Your thoughts on Quinn Cook, Shai Gilgeous, Derek White, Bogdan? I think we've talked about most of these guys. Cook, Shai, Derek White, Bogdan. From talking to you so far, I'm getting the feeling that Bogdan and White are the dudes that you're looking at as more of the full season types, and then Cook, streaming, and Shai is a little bit more of a question mark. Did I hit that right?
Yep.
Perfect. If I was going to trade Danilo Gallinari and Miles Turner, what type of guy should I target in return? I would say like a top 35, top 40. You think you could get that for those two guys, or am I aiming too high?
I mean, you're going to have, like, a savvy owner is going to look at your offer and be like, what are you trying to do to me here? Because now I got to drop a player, to make this happen. Your Danilo Gallinari just doesn't play, and I know he's doing pretty well, but he just doesn't play in a trade situation like this for a savvy owner.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you get on an upgrade over Miles Turner's position, but if you can get anything in the top 50, I think it's something you got to try to do. I don't think Turner's going to have a good year this year.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot, to be sure. It's a tough spot because you got Miles who's underperforming, you got Gallo who's overperforming, but everybody knows he's going to end up hurt. That's a tough combo.
If you could get a top 50 out of it, though, especially you get the one player, you can add a player on the wire. I mean, by all means, do that.
Brett says, love the tweet storms, Dan. Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's fun for me. It puts the words down on paper, and it basically does my prep for the podcast the next day. You guys still think Kyrie is good for a top 20 finish in an 8-cat format? I'm not sure if I should sell while he's on this crazy hot streak. A possible target would be Victor Oladipo. I'd probably have to throw in a top 100 type with him. I would do that, Brew.
Yeah, you got to do that. I mean, Kyrie basically nixed a playoff run, for long-term health. He's not going to jeopardize his future, in any way, shape, or form. So he's always going to be an injury risk. And there's a question, would he finish in the top 20 if he's healthy? Victor Oladipo. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a top 12 guy right there.
Would you flip De'Aaron Fox for Joe Ingles?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, Smoking Joe all the way.
When is the next DraftKings Beat the Expert tourney? Thursday. Stay tuned. We'll have a whole bunch of tweets about it coming next week when the room gets set up. The room gets set up when? Monday? Tuesday?
Yeah, I got to get with them. But yeah, that's the general plan.
Sweet. So by the time some of you are listening to this recorded version, it might even be open. So make sure to follow us on Twitter. That's the real key. If you follow us on Twitter, you'll get all the updates on everything that we're doing over here. You'll get the Beat the Expert updates. You'll get whatever, my tweet storms. You get Brew's good stuff. You get, that's the real key. When people are like, Dan, what do you want to promote on this pod you're doing? I'm like, just do the Twitter thing, because that's where everything else ends up coming out. How do you guys specifically prepare streaming strategy for the week? I spend so much time in it, but I can't find an efficient way to do it. This is an interesting segue to our premium product, isn't it?
Absolutely. I was going to say, stop working so hard and get into the premium product where Dan Besbris's schedule grid is located.
That's true. I make it generally for my playoffs, and for in my head-to-head league, I started streaming right around the All-Star break last year, which is a good 4 weeks before anybody else in the league was really actively watching it. And I was able to go on a month-long insano burst. My team went something like 30 and whatever it's an 11 category league. So it was like 30 and 14 or 34 and 10 or something. And I jumped from 5th place to 2nd. And that got me a first-round bye in the playoffs, and it got me into the money because then I could game plan exclusively for the semifinal round of that league's playoff. It's a really helpful thing. Yeah, get the premium pass and do it the free way. Not the freeway like what you drive on in Los Angeles, the free method. Hoop-ball.com. Click on the premium tab, choose free DraftKings promo, and navigate to DraftKings through that website. Sign up for a new account, put $10 in it, you get the premium pass gratis, comes with it. And then play in our tournament on Thursday 3 times. If you lose all 3, fine. Then you spent $10 on the premium pass. And if you win any of them, then you end up in the money with the premium pass on top of it. It's all about maximizing games, though. Looking for guys on back-to-backs. All that stuff is listed in the guide. And trying to figure out what you need to beat one particular opponent, not necessarily what the best guy is out there, but what the best guy is for you. Darren Collison or Bogdan Bogdanovic in an 8-cat league, Brew, going forward?
Give me Bogey.
Yeah, Bogey. We got a listener who's getting nailed by the Butte County fire. Get safe, man. He says he's got emphysema and it's killing him. Yikes, that sounds rough. Eesh. Stay safe, dude. Darren Collison question. We talked about him earlier in the podcast. You can rewind it if you missed that part. Better keeper for a dynasty league, Shai or Mitch Robinson?
I'm going to go with Mitch Robinson just because that stat set. I mean, if he even becomes remotely close to like Hassan Whiteside in style of play, and he hits free throws. So, I mean, there's going to be much more pop to what he does. So, yeah, I'm gonna take him over the better basketball player in Shai.
Well, we, ladies and gentlemen, are at the 1 hour and 5 minute mark. I just kept letting it go, but we have 1 page of questions left. So I'm putting Brew on hyperspeed. We're going yes, no, or one-word answer. Brew, this is mega lightning round. You're going to be able to answer them faster than I can find the next question. It's only a handful left, so it won't take too long. But you ready to go ultra lightning?
My first answer is going to be like 5 minutes long just to upset you.
I'm cutting it off. I'm editing it out. Tyreek Evans, is he worth the drop? I think you've already answered that. The answer was yes. The answer was yes. Shai or Derrick Rose rest of season?
Shai.
Interesting. I thought you might go the other way. Dan, what are you drinking? It's apple juice, actually. I know, I'm a kid. I made a joke about Bogdan's thing, and now I'm drinking apple juice. Kyrie versus CP3 rest of season?
Kyrie.
Yeah, I think most people are leaning that direction. Does it matter if it's head-to-head or roto?
Nope.
No. Danny Green or slow-mo rest of season? You know where I'm at on this one.
Slow-mo.
We're on opposite sides of that one. Nemanja Bjelica, should I turn him into a streaming Quinn Cook?
No.
Miles Turner, is he going to improve on top 100? Could he get back into top 75?
Miles Turner?
Yeah.
Yes.
When's a good time to pick up Will Barton and or Chris Dunn? My advice, by the way, that I usually give out is about a month before guys come back from these types of injuries. What's your strategy with that type of stuff?
Depends on the league. If there's leagues I could wait till like a week before. In my super competitive leagues, it's about a month.
Yeah, that's where I'm sitting at too. So maybe you guys, I always say a month because I'm in these leagues where everybody's paying pretty tight attention. But if you're in a league where like a third of your teams aren't, then you can start to shave time off of that round. Seb says, respect to the Kings getting things turned around this year. Yeah, you know what? Even as a Laker fan, it's nice to see them not being completely embarrassing. Is Kevin Love the new Kawhi? Meaning, is he going to play 9 games this year? God, I hope not. Brew, what do you think? Oh, it cut it off. What was the answer?
I think I got to ask if Kawhi was the
or
is Kevin Love the next Kawhi?
That's right. Is Kevin Love the new Kawhi? As in, is he just going to sit the whole year?
It's I don't know if probably not with the way that this injury seems like it's structured. But Kawhi's was just weird. I'm sorry. I don't think you're ever going to see that ever again.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not. You can't be a short answer. It's like top first round pick with no prior problems, organization that's stellar, and then that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anything that's going to be quite like that. And I think in talking to people that follow the Cavs pretty closely, they think that he's going to play. They may just depress his minutes and give him extra rest days, but I still think you could target, 40 to 60 games, somewhere in that wiggle area, depending on how things play out. Thoughts on the Nikola Jokic fine? That's an interesting one. I didn't think we were going to get asked about that. Did you see that he got fined for saying no homo? I think he should be fined for that. That's something that a child says.
Yeah, I mean, and that could possibly, because he was pretty terse with media, like that could be why he didn't take any shot, or maybe he just was shell shocked with the reaction that he got. But yeah, I don't know what year he thinks this is.
Yeah, you can't say that crap. That's stupid. That's That's dumb. Find another way to express yourself. If you're talking about somebody's length, nobody thinks that you're making a sexual advance at another player in the league. Come on, Nicola, get your head out of your butt. Hassan, would you trade him for Clint Capella?
Yes. Yeah, Capella's a little down in the ranks, but yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like he might even be able to get Capella and J.J. Redick together, so sweetens the pot a little bit. The Kings are going to tire out Tibbs' 5-man rotation. Run, Kings. There's no question there. That's just a pro Kings post. And your thoughts on Jabari Parker? Dude seems so bad in real life and in fantasy. You are right, sir. You are correct.
Oh, God. You know what? Honestly, anybody that thought he could play small forward, anybody who said that was even a remote possibility, just discount their basketball opinion for the rest of their life.
And there you have it. I feel like that's a pretty good one to go out on, and luckily it was indeed the last question of our 5 pages of questions. We got to all of them. You suckers said it wasn't possible, and we did it anyway. Aaron Brewski, last thing, anything you want to promo before we turn this sucker down?
I need a drink after this one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Thanks, guys. Those were awesome questions. This is Fantasy NBA Today live on Friday. Coming up next week, we actually already have a guest segment that is recorded and ready to go. We're talking to Ben Vasconcelos. That's coming on the Monday show. He's with the Wiz of Oz, doing a little bit of a deep dive on the Washington Wizards and what the hell is going on out there.
Get your pooper scooper for that one.
Yeah, it'll be a reverse chronological lightning round, too. That's what's coming up on the Monday pod. Aaron Brewski, at Aaron Brewski on Twitter, the man, the myth, the victor of the lightning round. Thank you, as always.
You got it, sir.
Yeah.
It's been real.
It's been real. You want to bark for him on the way out, big dog? He's Aaron. I'm at Dan Bespers on Twitter. Give me a follow. This is Fantasy NBA Today. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the games tonight and Boston in altitude on a back-to-back. Just wanted to throw that out there at the end of the pod. So long.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.